Mr. Vajpayee, wonderful person, brilliant again, poetic, philosophical. Mr. Nayanar, he gets out of the car, PM is waiting and tells the PM, this man, he is also from Kalyasheri. And Mr. Gujarat says, one more reason for granting airport to Kannur. Visited the Prime Minister and told him categorically that if Mr. Karunakaran was not removed, party is going to pay very heavily for that. I am still apolitical, and my service trained me, especially the SPG days, trained me for that. SPG, again, CRPF I would rate as one of the most, versatile and flexible force, and a force for all seasons. That is why they are growing. In fact, Government of India was about to disband that. Yeah, soon after independence. It was Vallabhbhai Patel as Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister who started that move, because the very name was a big burden. The colonial legacy, crown representative police, that itself was against us. Second was the republic, being a federal republic. They said the state is supposed to be looking after law and order. Why keep these two battalions, 2,000 people, and that too with this crown representative police system? But Patel said, no, you have to retain that force and we'll need this force. And that was kind of prophetic. From 2,000 men, this has grown into 3.5 lakhs now. And there is so much heavy demand because whether it is terrorism or insurgency, whether it is a normal law and order situation, communal issue, every state wants CRPF to aid them. That is the first request. If CRPF is not available, yes, send to BSF or others. So that is about CRPF. SPG is a very unique organization. First of all, it is 100% deputationist organization. Nobody joins SPG, as a career or as a service. You are already in some service, police service of the center or the state. You are chosen. Second, you are chosen at a time when you are not old, when you are young, but with some experience in the respective department. Then you are given a kind of a commander training, induction training. And after due verification of your antecedents, already you are a verified man, like police verification, there's double verification, then you are deployed on the ground for this sensitive duty. There also, everybody in the SPG doesn't go to the PM and stand nearby them. Selected people are asked to do that job. I was doing that job. I was commanding that small protection group, which stands around him always, whether meeting or traveling or everywhere, with these 4 prime ministers, starting from Narasimha Rao to Vajpayee included, and Gujarat and Devagowda. And it was a very different experience altogether. And the basic difference is it's a highly professional organization and chosen few. So naturally you get the best out of all available feeder organizations. You're there for a specific period when you are young and fit and capable. You're there with extra allowances. And the system of working is very, very professional there. In one word, for example, the hierarchy is the least there. Normally in any uniformed service, you find it is hierarchical. For example, when Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, there were a lot of people there, and it was basically like, the SP, he would like to be very, he thinks SP may be an old, about to retire person, but he thinks I am SP, so it is my responsibility, he would stand. he wouldn't see whether he would be able to act in case of a contingency. In SPG, it is not the rank, it is the role which matters. And in that role, you are given reasonable room, scope for operating independently. That autonomy you have. You are not, checked or interfered with frequently, like you do this, do that, no. So I enjoyed that because I was the CPT in charge. Once there, even my bosses wouldn't normally interfere with my task. They know he has been chosen to do that and he is there and he is capable, that's all. So that was something which you don't find elsewhere in the uniformed service. That role is more important, not the rank. And that role has a specific job to do and he alone can do it, he does it. He is expected to do it.
Do you get to interact personally?
Yes, obviously.
If you don't mind.
No, for example, I'll tell you one example. You become very informal because he is your protectee. Your sort of, if I can use that word, is your baby. So you can't be very formal. You can't be always addressing him, Your Honor, Honorable Prime Minister. No, you just address him as normal. Yes, sir, you, that kind of a thing. You'll find far senior people addressing him far more formally, like using Honorable Prime Minister, if the Honorable Prime Minister is willing or like that. That is one thing, very informal. Then there has to be no inhibition in talking to him, touching him, it's all for him. So that rapport is built over a period of time. So you travel with him in the same car. He gets out only when you open the door. And you open the door only when you are sure that all around the security is okay. Otherwise, you can even push off from there. Okay, no, we are not getting down here. Well, whatever. There is no, I wouldn't speak much about it. But then that was communication. Of course, you were also a security liaison officer for him. How does he communicate? See, you are keeping all his people away in the name of security. Sometimes even his own PS or PA is sent away because of security, because car cannot accommodate and you can't be away, you have to be there. I mean, like, as in charge. Under these circumstances, he has to function. So naturally you have you have to assume the other role also, because you have deprived, I mean, you mean not personally, the security system or your drill, your system has deprived him of other services. So what does he do without that? So naturally you have to step in. So you are also a security liaison officer to him. He would communicate every moment sometimes when you are traveling. That is a unique privilege. I was at that time a junior level. I mean, I was of the rank of SP. So that was a very, very unique privilege. The responsibility also was matching, no doubt. There are several
personal interactions, the nature, the kind of how they behave.
Yes. No, because in the kind of professional propriety wouldn't allow me to speak much. But then there are certain harmless things which I may share with you. I would start with Mr. Gowda, for example. Mr. Gowda, he was most uncomfortable in Delhi. He was never part of the central administration or any way, and language is also. And he was a reluctant prime minister too. So he would invariably talk to me continuously in the car. And we have our primary duty to do. But at the same time, after all, it is the prime minister who is talking to you, so you can't be very blunt to him. He would, speak to me very gently, and he was very comfortable and confident, and he would even share personal matters like how reluctant he was, how his Madam Devgoda was crying when he left for Delhi to become Prime Minister and things like that. So that kind of one-to-one talk. And initially, it took a lot of days for him to realize that he is the Prime Minister of the country. And soon after taking over, first he said, okay, I'll go to Bangalore. So I was accompanying him. Of course, the director SPG also was there. It's not that, the CPT in charge is alone. There are peoples, but they would be in a different car. And you are the one who is interacting with the Prime Minister. So at that time, he was still occupying the Chief Minister's bungalow. We reached there. As usual, he wouldn't say no to any of the visitors. He would keep on meeting everybody, and especially he had just left Karnataka. A lot of people wanted to meet him. He continued up to 10 o'clock, and finally, 10:30, the Chief Secretary and DG together came to call on him. And he was meeting them. And he says, at 10:30 in the night, tomorrow I would like to go to Satya Sai Baba's place. Also, Chamundi temple, and if possible, a marriage in Mysore. So the Chief Secretary and DG were looking at each other, what to do, Prime Minister. Then they say, sir, we cannot do anything about your truce now. He says, then who does? The SPG. They have taken over. We cannot do anything. Then I was standing nearby. I said, SPG. I said, yes, I am here. I said, okay, sit down. I was made to sit. He repeats the program to me. You're talking to the Prime Minister. But then, as I told you, that you have to be informal with him. I said, sir, tomorrow you are wanting to go to these 3 places. And it's 10:30. How can we arrange? No, I must go. He's very simple and very, very, very humble man. See, Satya Sai Baba, maybe consciously or otherwise, in one of the speeches recently, he mentioned Prime Minister Devgoda. And I became Prime Minister. It was his belief, and he had that. He was believing, Satya Sai Baba knew. It was not a slip of tongue. And I must go to him, yes. Chamundi temple, of course. Then this marriage, I said, sir, marriage is impossible. See, you're telling me marriage. This also, we need 3 helicopters. 3 helicopters? I said, yes, sir. You can't go by road. And we need minimum 3 helicopters. And they normally do rehearsals. And you are wanting to go in the morning tomorrow and it's 10:30. So, see, this is a kind of, but he is not imposing at all, always very polite and, such a junior level officer I was at that time especially. He said, but somehow you have to plan it. He was requesting. I said, sir, about this Chamundi temple and all that I can't say, but anyway, we'll have to wake up so many people in Delhi now. I went to Asoka Hotel where the director was taking rest. I woke him up at about 11 o'clock. I said, sir, the PM is not just returning to Delhi tomorrow morning, he's going. These are the plans. So he woke up everybody in Delhi, there were 2 branches, they interned the Air Force, this, that. So that was his, and slowly he realized that, he's now Prime Minister and protective of SPG and these paraphernalia, he can't, wish away these drills. But at the same time, very simple and humble, and especially because he was new to Delhi and he was continuously interacting with me. For example, another occasion I remember is August 15th. He, with great difficulty, spoke in Hindi, if you recall. It was not an easy task. Like a student, he was trying to speak, and I was watching it. And we started from the RCR. While going to Red Fort, traditionally the Prime Minister goes to Rajghat, Shakti Sthal and all those samadhis. And we were getting late. And there we had to reach at the appointed time. It is, like all over the world, people are watching Independence Day. For time was very crucial. So we are already late. At several samadhis, he would not even, because this taking out his chappals was, it was taking time again wearing it. He would leave everything in the car and literally run. Such, great man, I must say. He would run. And when the camera is there, I would say, sir, now we can walk. No, we would walk. Someplace, the cameras are there. Otherwise, he was such a, and somehow he made it. That is the kind of interaction you have with the Mr. Gujral. That, Mr. Nayanar, as Chief Minister, came and visited him once. And normally the Prime Minister doesn't go to see off a Chief Minister, but as a special courtesy, Mr. Gujral came out of his chamber in the RCR to the porch to see off Mr. Nayanar, Chief Minister. So naturally when the PM moves out, I get a message from my chap there. I also rushed because the PM is coming out. Normally it doesn't happen, but Sir PM, I ran and reached. Mr. Nayanar, already seated in the car, gets out of the car. He was such a simple and straightforward man. He gets out of the car. PM is waiting and tells the PM, "You are this man. He is also from Kalyasheri." And Mr. Gujral says, "Oh, one more reason for granting airport to Kannur." So I knew the subject was Kannur Airport. And he must have said, "I am also personally from that." Mr. Nayanar was also from Kannur or whatever. So that is why I knew what transpired, by this statement. And he was so jovial. The Prime Minister says, "Oh, one more reason for." See, that kind of equation you have. But, professionally, we behave. We don't get, in that sense, politically close or identify with that political party and all that. We have a detached sort of approach. But, traditionally, SPG officers have not been taking any advantage also. Anything of that sort is immediately monitored and, he is thrown out. So Mr. Gujral, now Mr. Vajpayee, for example, what I remember is when I was leaving him, he was so nice. He called me for breakfast and the family was serving me. So nice of a Prime Minister, sitting beside me and, we were having breakfast together. And Mr. Narasimha Rao, of course, comparatively formal, wouldn't talk much, but very brilliant. And he would go by, I would say, the textbook. Go by the rule book or whatever, is that type. Nothing out of the way and not much of personal communication. And he's serious. See, prior to the actual demolition on December 6, 1992, there were intelligence bureau chief, others coming and going, a lot of things, were happening there. And he was also taken by surprise, as far as I know. It was a Sunday. He was taking rest in 3rd RCR out of the race course road complex. 3rd RCR is where he lives. It was a normal Sunday. He was on computer. Suddenly this demolition news comes in the TV and the PA, one Pandey was on duty, old man. He runs to the Prime Minister, informs him. He normally doesn't come to the PA's room, Prime Minister. He immediately comes to the PA's room, started calling everybody, chief minister, these others to confirm. So from the look of it, he was also taken by surprise. Though there were allegations that he had given a sort of tacit approval or but then that would be very uncharitable to say. And moreover, subsequently he was interacting with several people. I happened to overhear one or two things which he mentioned. He says, there is an elected government in power, chief minister. Mr. Kalyan Singh was the chief minister at that time. Secondly, he gives an affidavit in the Supreme Court that his government will protect the building, the structure. It is like if a mother kills her own baby, what can the government or the law do? An elected chief minister, as an additional precaution, there is an affidavit filed in the court that he will protect the building. Why should I remove him in advance from power? If that is a mistake, that is a mistake. But that was Mr. Rao. He wouldn't, if you borrow that word, he wouldn't be proactive on such situations. That was the perhaps only thing he could be charged of. Otherwise, he was not, to my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, he was not party to it. And on another occasion, I had heard him telling, if the SHO, police station in charge, SHO himself indulges in looting, what can the government do? They can do something after the event is over. If he himself goes to the road and loots the people, you can act only after the event is over. So that kind of a publicity given, like he was party to it or he had been in the knowledge of it, is only thing is that he did not dismiss, through the presidential intervention, dismiss the government in power, which was elected to power recently. And that day I had seen, coming to the point, like the whole afternoon, like it happened sometime at 10 o'clock or so in the morning. He was busy talking to the prime chief ministers, telling them to control, the crowd, take care of the law and order situation. Like that, he was in full control of things, but he was naturally very upset. He was very upset about that. But as he says, he wouldn't give too much of explanation. That was his style, as I understand. For example, he wouldn't tell it in so many words that, by using the PR mechanism, that he was never a party to the other people say, and he has his own strong belief that he was not party to it. But he wouldn't go about telling everyone and using all the machinery that this happened this way and all that. Kind of a PR work he was not doing. Temperamentally, he was not doing that, for whatever the matter. He would just go by his conscience. That type of a person he was, to my humble understanding of the gentleman.
And on the security side, was there, obviously there would have been a higher threat perception post the demolition.
Yes.
How was that front? Like, were there inputs coming?
There was heightened inputs of, threat perception was very high those days. And what followed is known to everybody. In Bombay and other places, there was, comparatively, Kerala was peaceful. Other places, we had troubles, especially in Bombay. And he was continuously monitoring the situation and instructing the chief ministers to control and, but nowhere he was trying to explain. That was not his style of function. Like, this happened, I didn't know this, I don't know, blaming others who, this, intelligence chief did not tell me this, that kind of a thing he doesn't do. So one doesn't know, and that leaves enough scope for people to accuse him of being a party to it, or at least tacitly approving it.
This lack of proactiveness that you're talking about,
Yes.
was it this trait or was it only about this particular incident that you
This trait, it is a trait. That is why this slightly politics, but I can't, help telling it now since you raised a question. Like there would be groups of Congress leaders coming from opposition-ruled states and requesting him, "Saab udhar wo chal raha hai, ye chal raha hai, gadbad chal raha hai, it is, if you can remove him, we are going to win." And Mr. Rao would listen to them patiently and would give them a very disappointing answer. That is, I'm not going to do that. He has been elected, and if you are very sure, you work hard and wait for the term to complete. And the disappointed leaders would be going back, accusing him of inaction, of not being enough, not dynamic enough or proactive. Because those who are coming and requesting, they have nothing to lose. They have something to gain only, because there is at least 50% chance of their coming back to power. And if it doesn't, the same party would continue and they don't lose anything. But as a prime minister, he wouldn't do that. That is his trait. He wouldn't, like, for example, any other person to become more popular within the party, more acceptable to a party, could have thought of doing such schemes, but he is not the one. And to that extent, some of the party men did not like him, because he wouldn't, oblige them with such.
It was during Rao's term that this ISRO spy case was
Yes.
came up. So a group of A group.
Yes.
So the Congress was not happy with Karnagaran and they
Yes.
wanted to remove him. So the story is like that. They went and told Rao, this man is claiming that he made Rao the prime minister. That is the story. And people say Rao also had a hand in connecting this Karnagaran with ISRO spy case, which was
I think that was real piece of imagination. Incidentally, part of your story is correct in the sense all the leaders of the parties of the UF had visited the Prime Minister and told him categorically that if Mr. Karnagaran was not removed, party is going to pay very heavily for that. And again, to the best of my knowledge, it was only M.V. Raghavan, but he was the only MLA of his party, right? Who didn't want a change. All other party leaders who reached there on a night, I remember, all these leaders had reached there. And again, I, quote unquote, to the best of my knowledge, all of them wanted leadership change, except Mr. M.V. Raghavan. And naturally, as a Prime Minister and leader of the Congress party, when all the parties involved in the front is requesting for a change of leadership, he couldn't have said no to it. And the other theory is absolutely incorrect. And you must have, people, the press, the newspapers were full of it those days. stories after story,
Yes.
and on top of it, the party leaders coming. You know, all the leaders were Mr. K. Mani, Mr. Kunyari Kuti, everybody, all the coalition partners were there. Their leaders were there. It was a late night meeting, I remember, and I gathered, you know, somehow I came to know that except Mr. Raghavan and all others had requested Mr. Rao for this change of leadership.
Of the 5 PMs, who do you say is your friend?
This is the most difficult question I have faced in my, career. It's very difficult to answer. But I must tell you, all of them are great. It is not easy to become Prime Minister of a country like India of 140 crores of people. So all of them. And I must also tell you, we need not paint all the politicians with same brush. There was a time when most of the people don't know. After Vajpayee, after 13 days, he had to go because he was not able to muster enough strength. There was a gentleman who was literally running away from the post of Prime Minister. Do you know who it was? PP Singh. He ran away literally from his house without even telling his good wife, Madam Sida, that where he is going. He went into hiding because he never wanted to be the Prime Minister of the country. So can you imagine a country like India where people run after kursi, there's a man running away from it. And on top of it, the Janata Parivar leaders, including Lalu, rushed to the house and asked the poor lady, where is Saab? She says, I don't know. He gets angry. Kisko bekup bana raha hai? Who are you fooling? You don't know where he is. She says, no, I don't know. Literally 2 days he was absconding from Delhi because he was scared of Prime Ministership. Most of us don't know. So these the politicians, all of them are now again the historical blunder, quote unquote, the Politburo, Jyoti Basu. He was half willing, but the Politburo was not ready. See, an example of like how people can be away from power. So these people, I don't all paint them in the same breath. Some of them are really good, and those prime ministers I speak, like Mr. Rao, he hardly gave a personal touch to me. He's not the one who would, develop that kind of personal equation. But I respect him a lot because of his brilliance, because of his principles, because of the. Now, for example, frankly speaking, like once Mr. Manmohan said, when he was being, credited for all the liberalization, it was because of the political patronage given by the Prime Minister Narasimha Rao that he could do that. That is why, as a person, Mr. Narasimha Rao, when others were slightly neglecting Narasimha Rao, it was always Manmohan Singh who used to take care of him in the Congress, ACC meetings and all that. Personally, he knew. He was made the finance minister and given a free mandate to go ahead. And that is a turning point in India's history. And he brought it about. Mr. Rao, so that Mr. Vajpayee, wonderful person, brilliant again, poetic, philosophical, very large-hearted, not very comfortable with power. He was very comfortable seeing Hindi movies and enjoying food and all. He is that type, not very crazy about power, if you see. And these two other prime ministers, as Mr. Gowda says, he was never interested. He was not literally. He was Delhi. He was very, very uncomfortable. Every day, he would because and his family was hardly used to come here. They were all in Karnataka. Madam was not comfortable at all. And I'm sure what he said is correct. She cried. She must have cried. leaving chief ministership and coming here. And Mr. Gujral, purely accidental. The credit goes to Mr. Kesari, one person. Nothing changed. Entire ministry, same. Only the Prime Minister changed. So it was not based on any issue or any principle that the support was withdrawn. Take out Mr. Gowda, the rest, everything, the same portfolio, everything continued. And he was very sophisticated, very nice, and and he has, so basically an external affairs man, ambassador, and other posts. So it's very difficult to rate them on a 1 to 10 scale.
So the current government has drafted women into the SPG.
Yes.
So does that mean gender doesn't matter? I mean, any commando is a commando.
Yeah.
What exactly does
No,
message that you?
what I feel, there is a very natural sort of evolution. Now, for example, you have large number of prospective protectees entering public life. Women are naturally asking for and getting more space in the public life. So you'll have more protectees today or tomorrow from that gender. Simultaneously, the police forces are also recruiting large number of women into their organizations. Thirdly, they are doing, especially some of them are doing very well. They are as if they have to prove that they are no less. They are doing so well. So all the three facts together, their induction into such forces on such assignments, it's very natural and it's very welcome. It's good, and they'll do a good job of it. SPG, of course, even earlier had women. Even during our time, SPG, we were looking after the family members' security and all, close spouse committee security with the lady officers. But more of them would be deployed, and it's very natural. It is welcome. It is good.
So with proper training, a woman commando can be equally good as a male commando. Physical, I'm talking
Physical
about
also, yes. Physically also. And I find they are generally doing so good, so well, as if when I say I would use that word, they want to prove that they are not less. That is something, that mental preparation is very important. And they do it so smartly. And then the other reasons you have scope for more women protectees coming into the field of politics and requiring protection. And they'll be naturally more comfortable with the lady commandos around them than male.
I was going to ask about
Yes,
Manipur.
Manipur.
As someone who has served in Northeast for
Yes.
a long time, how do you look at the Manipur issue? Is it a religious thing or is it a tribal clash?
It is a tribal clash. Basically, it is a tribal clash. Religious, for example, we have several identities. And when it comes to tribals, Manipur, for example, let us come to the point of Manipur. The strongest identity is their tribal nature. That is the first thing. Religion comes second or third. Political affiliation may be fourth or so. First is what tribe I belong to. And even we, for example, the so-called outsiders, we never come to know which religion they belong to. In their dress, in their food habits, in their behavior, in their features, they all look alike. So the religious identity takes a backseat. And that is why basically the issue is ethnic. It is the difference, and of course the political interests are involved, which are of political nature, but again mostly economic, related to land. For example, when you come to the point of Manipur issue, the recent one, the March 27 last year, the High Court passed an order that the state government should take up matter of classifying Meiteis into scheduled tribe category. It was a directive passed by the High Court. Just before that, a few months before that, Government of Manipur had passed a land reform act by which the entrance into reserve forest was totally banned. So the Kukis who were masters of the whatever was left other than the valley, they could go cultivate, clean up and cultivate like June cultivation. There was a prohibition on that. These two things together, they thought they are going against us. Two things happened almost simultaneously. The state government's reform act, and they're strictly implementing it, and the directive issued by the High Court. So the land was the issue, and the government controlled the land issue because a lot of opium cultivation also was taking place. And that was being sent to Myanmar. That was also going on. Maybe ordinary people are not involved in that. The mafia running it was doing that also. So they were also hurt. But basically, I would say that it still remains a tribal issue.
It is purely ethnic.
Yes.
How did it become a Hindu versus Christian?
No, it is because what happens.
Is it due to politics? Or?
No, there are other reasons also. Basically politics, but more than that, apparently, for example, anybody who is seeing it superficially, number of churches burnt. So you would see, temples only 10, churches hundreds. See, that is one, for example, I'm telling. The churches there are not the kind of churches we have here, we see here. Everything is thatched. Their house, the church, everything is thatched roof, simple. And it is there everywhere. 100 people living, there is a church. That may not be the case with the temples. Temples, you have elaborate ceremonies to go through before you, complete that, and you have a proper, you don't. But Christianity as such, it is there. In fact, it is a positive side. The building is not important. So you have large number of them, and churches are not being particularly targeted. When the whole village is being raided by a particular tribe, church also becomes part of it. But if you see the statistics or data, you have a scope for analyzing it in a different manner. Like why only 10 temples were burned, whereas thousands of churches were burned. So I would say on the ground, these churches are mostly thatched roof, simple buildings, and you have for even 50 people living together, that would be, that aspect would be catered for. Whereas Meiteis or they were not having that kind of a system.
So is it like cookies are Christians and
they are.
Meiteis
have some Christians also. Meiteis, even Muslims, some of them, but basically Hindus. But I would qualify that Hinduism because they have a different identity as Vaishnava Hindu, and they are of recent origin. They had their own religion. And otherwise, the tribal have. That's what I'm telling you. For example, most of my colleagues from Manipur, now I am trying to find out whether they are Meitei or their dress, their food habits, everything is same. Look-wise, features, everything is same. And in their gathering, they would be all, huddled together. Now because this issue has come up, the rest of the country is trying to know, who was that colleague? Was he a Maithi or was he a Kuki?
But haven't there been clashes even before this, probably in the 80s, even when youths weren't there?
Yes,
Ethnic strife.
Ethnic strifes were there, but mostly it was all directed against the central government. For example, when
Not within
that. For example, see, years ago, say 2 or 3 decades ago, the Kukis were finding Maithis also taking up arms against the central government. In fact, they were the People's Liberation Army, PLA, was a much more organized underground arrangement of the Manipur state than the Kukis. So then they must have been happy seeing them all fighting for a separate entity. But the statehood was given, then their converting also helped. Then joining BJP, they are coming into power. So whether one likes it or not, that becomes part of mainstreaming, because you are becoming part of a mainstream political party. Whether it is Congress or BJP is a secondary question. That is my point. I'm telling you, the new generation Northeast people, they are ready to integrate with the mainstream. And joining a mainstream political party, whether it is BJP or Congress, is a clear option. And maybe at the moment, people must be thinking that, yes, in any case, we have to mainstream for our own good. Then comes which party? So it is a matter of common sense. Had there been Congress in the center, I'm sure they would have joined Congress party. Because now their aim is development, integration, job opportunities, things like that.
What was it prompted? How did this transition happen? Because in the 80s, 90s and all, they wanted to be separated from the country. Yes. But now they want to be part of India and want to be mainstream. So
that
what
is,
happened?
over a period of time, they have realized that it is futile to go on, because they have lost a lot of time, precious time. And they also know that traditional way of living has to change, of Zoom cultivation or agriculture and cultivation without owning. So they realized that this is not going to work for them. But by the time that generation disappeared, new generation, they grew up with all these possibilities and more of education, exposure. And most of the youngsters are outside. Even I'm sure Calcutta, Bangalore, everywhere you find a lot of Manipuri boys and girls working. And they're very smart. They pick up things fast, good in English. Hindi may not be that good, but then, and the education there, thanks again to the Christian missionary, it's very good. They have good schools. So all this has helped. And there is a realization that it is better to be mainstreamed. That is the only way. And on the part of the government, it's not only BJP, even before that, they have been focusing. Initially, maybe we had far more serious issues. Northeast was not getting this kind of a consideration.
Religion, ethnicity, language, all these could be reasons for insurgency.
Yes.
And you must have encountered all of these. Right?
Yes.
And which is more aggressive, which is more powerful? Is it religion, ethnicity? Which is...
See, in terms of violence, I would say ethnicity. In terms of violence, resorting to violence. And religion, yes, it depends upon the perpetrator's religion. The religion teaches them. So the perpetrator's religion, their teachings would naturally affect their performance, so-called performance in the sort of protest movement. But otherwise, I find ethnic issues, especially in the background of Northeast experience, because for Northeast, for example, our evolution from the nomads, we became agriculturals, we started settling down the human evolution. In Northeast, they were the last to join the agricultural kind of way of living. Till 200 years ago, they were basically hunters. So in that evolution, what has happened is the nature, because they are hunters, they use weapons, howsoever rudimentary they are, but that psychology is still there. That is why even the Manipur violence you must have seen, the brutalities are beyond descriptions from both sides.
How different were these left-wing extremists from when compared to other terrorists or insurgents you've dealt with?
See, this is again a totally different field. They can't be called terrorists nor insurgents. For them, ideology is more important, not ideology-oriented this thing. But then it is again the ground for recruitment, the catchment that was poverty driven, in the sense one side ideology is there, they have to sort of indoctrinate the people, at least the regular dalams as they call it, people are to be sufficiently indoctrinated. The political philosophy will have to be drilled into their heads. And they were able to recruit because of poverty, unemployment and inequalities and backwardness and several other reasons. Now their operation was entirely different in the sense the Dalam people would be very few in any attack they launch. But there will be 10 times more militia. These militia people are not sufficiently armed. They may be having bows and arrows or whatever. Maybe having uniform or some semblance of uniform, So if they had 10 or 20 people, regular Dalam people, they would have 200 or 300 militia. And these poor people would be in the forefront. And if possible, ahead of that, they would have a layer of very ordinary innocent villagers, including women and children. It becomes so difficult for the force to operate under these circumstances. That was something which we faced in those areas. If you recall an incident where 75 CRPF personnel were butchered, literally, April 6, 2010. There were more than 1,000 people, including all these 3 segments. And then it becomes so difficult, like you don't apparently see anybody with weapons. They come so close and you don't know who they are. Children are there, ladies are there, So even before you react, you are caught by surprise. And the tribals, as it happened, as I told you about the Northeast, they are prone to, like they are again simple, innocent, and they have real problems, socio-economic problems. But the point is, when they do something, the brutality is a thing which, is common. They do it, ruthlessly. Like chopping off the legs, hands, for small things, weapon or watch or whatever, purse. They do it, that is there. So that makes this operation slightly different.
So how serious is the left-wing extremism in India right now? Has anything changed in the last decade or so? Like, has it?
I personally feel now that is the most important or most dangerous law and order issue before the government of India now. Now since Srinagar Valley is under control and Northeast is generally mainstreaming, and the Punjab issue, though it is, people believe that, there are chances of raising head, but that is remote. In the sense, funds may be there, influence would be there for the, the youngsters will have to be taken care of, especially with the drug menace and also their lure to go abroad and all. This problem remains more crucial, more important because of the spread. It's not confined to 1 or 2 states. Nearly 10 states, starting from Karnataka to almost, border of Nepal, even Nepal included. The red corridor is a dangerous thing because of the spread, because of the indoctrination, the political philosophy, the firm belief, people, those who are there, the top people of the group, they firmly believe in that political philosophy of power through the barrel of gun. So that is there.
Has anything changed in the last 10 years? Like,
yes, now again I am away from the scene, but there is change. But it has to be two-pronged. You have to have development in the area, infrastructure has to be created, and military or the operations, counter left-wing operations also will have to go simultaneously. Because if you see the terrain of, say, Chhattisgarh, there are areas where you don't see the existence of government machinery. Places like Abus Mud and like such areas, the machinery is not visible. Government machinery, such remote, and even the operations, few hours are of no use. You set off from the camp with all the equipment and this thing, and you have to be on 1 or 2 days of operation. Then only you can reach the target, or it is so remote. So connectivity has to improve, development has to be there, infrastructure has to be there, which they don't allow to take place. That is why the security or the operations also will have to continue, because without security nobody would be willing to go and take up work there even.
So this red corridor that you mentioned is also interestingly, as you said, where the mineral wealth of the country is.
Yes.
So could this left movement be like something that the corporations conjured to, escape the government funnel?
I don't think that is the reason. But then naturally there is a reluctance to for the industry to go and that is because of normal human factors. Like risk is there. Then nobody wants to risk their life, and do business there. But for example, I tell you, I often quote this: the red corridor, it stops at Karnataka border. It hasn't been able to spread its tentacles into the state of Kerala, which traditionally
Presence is there, no?
very mild, like
Governing is there.
very, very marginal. But
This
mind,
election also
yes,
people came to, why not asking people to...
yeah. But then you see the that border, and that too They have not started their operations. They are coming and showing their presence and getting things from the people for survival. But what is important is, historically, Kerala should have been a more fertile ground with the left leanings. Why that is not happening? Because the credit goes to the successive governments, left and right, both included. There is an even spread distribution of everything in the state. Nothing gets concentrated at one place. Trivandrum doesn't grow at the cost of Calicut or Kannur or even say Mattanur. Similarly, you have schools, colleges, hospitals, good roads everywhere. So nobody feels marginalized. Tribals are their natural sort of target, catchment. Even they are generally well taken care of. The alienation they don't feel here. That is the reason, of all places, it has stopped at this border. Karnataka, which is, still we can say, to come out of feudal mindset, they have problems. Andhra has been having it. Orissa, you take all other states. So this clearly states you have to have full focus on development and improving the conditions, living conditions of the tribals. Mainstreaming them is important.
More of a socio-economic problem.
Yes, that obviously, yeah. That is the root cause. Then only, if the problem is there, then only the Dalam activists can, spread their ideology.
So often we find, especially earlier times during such operations, a lot of sympathy or people supporting the Maoists or the so-called next light movement. So the forces, like I have heard many officers say, expressing their frustration, like public sympathy at times going, the officers not getting the deserving sympathy.
See, that is perhaps, the beauty of democracy. We shouldn't see it, negatively. Because there is freedom of expression. Now, for example, I'll tell you one example. The Palestinian issue. Of all places, it is in USA where the campuses are having protests against Israel, pro-Palestinian support, pro-Palestinian, sort of movement. Almost all the campuses of US, they're camping there, and the police is fighting it to remove them. The idea is that the students camp there, literally pitching up small tents and all that. I'm coming from US. I've just landed 3 days ago. It's a big issue there. It's not the Muslim countries where mostly monarchies are there, which are expressing that kind of solidarity. It is the left liberals of a capitalist country like America, where the sympathy is clearly seen. That again, positively I see, it's because of the democracy. People, having met the other thing, material facilities and all, they think of higher, they go beyond that, and they. This is very surprising to see. It's a big issue there now. They are with this as officially supporting Israel, but the student community as a whole, almost all the campus, including New York, they are finding it difficult to remove the students from the campus who are sitting, occupying the campus, the lawns, pitching up tents, openly supporting the Palestinian cause and anti-Israel. So this would be there in any society where there is freedom of speech and expression. Where the liberal-minded people are there, they are going to be there. They wouldn't blindly support what the government is doing.
So what is your opinion about this Agnipath scheme, which is being criticized by the opposition and I'm facing some criticism there? What do you think? Is it the right way to go forward?
See, from the point of view of the government, and even, like, let us say, in the interest of public, it's a good idea. Because the traditional method of recruiting somebody and allowing him to work till 56 or 60 years, that has to go. There is a period in life where you can do certain jobs, and in other countries you will find nobody sticks to one sort of service. They at least change 3 or 4 times. It is natural. It is only in India that we find that you join a force till you are 60, you continue, which is not possible. It's not right. These are several other collateral benefit also. You are recruiting large number of people, using them when they are fit, young. With this training and exposure, they are available to other fields, even the private, public enterprises. This is a real asset, in the sense you have a large number of trained, experienced, exposed people available in the open market for other jobs. So I think it's good. And for the forces, you always have young blood, comparatively. Force will have younger members with them. And the jobs are very tough. See, out of compulsion, people serve. The temptation is there, you want to continue because of the family conditions, family requirement, you want to earn pension. So till the last day he works. It's very natural. But whether he is capable of such tough performance of job is to be seen. So I think it is in the public interest.
But the allegation is that there is a possibility of these trained men being misused by vested interest. Don't you anticipate such a possibility? Like these are well-trained, equipped men coming out of the service, and they can be used by anyone for any purpose.
No, that is why the ecosystem has to be good. Now, for example, if you have all kinds of social and political tensions, communal problems, all in the country, yes. But if things are going to improve, things are improving, and this level of satisfaction of people is high, it will be only positive. These people are available for you, for any constructive use. That will work as an asset. But suppose if the complete ecosystem is going from bad to worse, the political climate is becoming so vitiated, then of course the point you mentioned is very relevant. Such people would take advantage, and they would be recruited en masse, and they would be naturally. But then this is a very remote chance. And anybody getting trained, willingly joining and getting trained, and the orientation becomes totally different. He becomes a soldier, a disciplined soldier. 99% of the people. Once a Fauji, once a disciplined soldier, he can't be different. I mean, there may be aberrations, 1%, but no, I myself, I claim even today that I'm a soldier. What does it mean? I can walk, I can go without reservation, I can go without food for a day, I can suffer some humiliation, I can still show patience, I can sacrifice, I can be helpful to my colleagues and friends, and that is the spirit of a Fauji, a soldier. Right now, what concerns me is more of Perumbavoor kind of situation and the Gunda Raj happening in Trichur, Trivandrum on one side. Secondly, the large-scale peddling of drugs and use of it. Third comes this religious thing. That, of course, is an evolving thing. It's not going to happen all of a sudden. It has to be seen, checked, and very sensitively taken care of. But what is immediately going to pose as threats to the ordinary law and order system of the state is these activities, uncontrolled behavior of the goons in the cities, and places like Perumbavoor.
By Perumbavoor, you meant the migrants. The
illegal migrants, and where the culture is totally different, I'm told. These are the immediate worries which police can immediately nip in the bud itself, which they should do. They can't afford to wait. Similarly, the drug packet peddling also.
Like Punjab, Kashmir also has religion as a root cause for the
Yes, yes.
Now Kashmir is relatively peaceful.
Yes.
And as a person from the forces, how do you look at the current state of peace? Is it real? Peace is real in Kashmir? Or is it some...
See, now I'm no more in service, but the feedback I get is it is real. People are there also, the ordinary shikarewala, ordinary tourist guides. Everybody is employed now. They're getting good money. Tourists, it has, it is gone tenfold. Number of tourists reaching there. And guides, shikarawala, all ordinary shopkeepers and others are all getting good remuneration. Handicrafts and things like that. Business is booming. Then the development is very fast. But maybe deep down, some people have, they might nourish that hurt. Because religion, after all, is a very sensitive issue. But basic identity of, I think that, as a, or identification with Pakistan or, that also is considerably reduced.
Good news.
It is a good news because about the kind of feedback I get is large number of people are reaching and everybody is getting enough, the day-to-day life has improved of ordinary people. Basically, the reasons are economic in all these things, except perhaps Punjab. Kashmir also, the ordinary people, they were wanting this tourism to pick up again. That was their roti. That was their means of livelihood. Most of the ordinary valley people. Related to tourism, it is not only shikara, but several other things. Guides, for example, large number of them are working as guides. Huge, movement of transports up and down and things like that. So considerable difference. For even from states like Kerala, you must have seen thousands of people from Kerala are going to Kashmir. In my own known circle, several of them are going. There is some big change happening there. That's what I feel.
Khalistan movement is coming back in Canada.
Abroad. There is again a psychology. Abroad, these people have money. But to be a terrorist, to be an insurgent, basically somebody has to sacrifice. They're ready to sacrifice money. And if you're ready to take up the bait, yes, you are most welcome. That is the condition. So the people here will have to be careful. They will only fund.
Already Punjab has an issue now of rampant
Yes,
drug use.
yes.
So would there be, people mindlessly going back to
It is possible.
money is
That's
being
why, see, government has to be very, very alert at all stages, because funding also is not, you can't just laugh away. After all, money, when especially, this kind of money or promise to you do this thing and the family members would be accommodated in Canada. So these are temptations. And youngsters aimlessly resorting to these kind of, drug and things like that could be easy victims. The government has to be on toes, no doubt. But it is restricted to well-to-do, rich expatriates.
The 1984 Delhi riots
Yes,
had an impact, a negative impact.
it did have. It had because, even ordinary Sikhs at that time felt very insecure for the first time. Because what happened in Delhi, that really shook them to the core. So that was a turning point, no doubt. Inside they, felt that yes, all the money, all the status or this thing wouldn't help us, when suddenly happening. So that had affected, but slowly it is naturally fading away, but it had negative impact, no doubt.
Coming to your personal journey, you had joined AAP and then you had resigned from AAP. What happened?
See, basically, I told you about my student days. As the campus was full of KSU, I also became a mainstream KSU man, and though never intended to continue, but that had helped me in dealing with the community of students. And even though I had 38 years of service in the uniformed service and rather isolated from the public, that, feeling that I could do something in the public life was there. And AAP's arrival, most of the people in the country, we thought would herald a thorough change, especially with regard to corruption, dealing with corruption. So that enthusiasm, I can do something, because I had earlier been I was a student activist, and maybe I can do something. And this anti-corruption pang, I was so much attracted. But within 2-3 months, I was disappointed, because the mainstream political parties, they were accusing of several things. They also started repeating all those things. And now, today, in fact, corruption charges apart, that is also there, like mainstream political parties, they are doing a Rabdi Devi as far as leadership is concerned. I hope you understand. Even the worst example of mainstream Indian political thing, where when man goes, he finds, or the others around him finds only his wife to lead. That is the worst scenario for a party like AAP, Rabdi syndrome. So I feel I don't regret leaving it as quickly as I joined.
Do you still have politics?
No, I am still apolitical. And my service trained me, especially the SPG days, trained me for that. So the moment I got out of it, I'm more comfortable a political being. Moreover, I'm heavily into social service.